So we are going to see some Harvest Agro versus Black-White Brunhild. So, yeah, Daniel playing Adam. Really appreciate the Adam being played over Brunhild. He really doesn't necessarily need Brunhild. We were having this conversation earlier. It can be either deck. It doesn't really matter. Yeah, and I apologize for the issue there with it getting dropped. But we are back. So this deck is all about Einherjar summoning and all kinds of stuff. And it's going to be interesting to see who comes out on top. So we'll be resetting the timer as soon as we get the time from our judge. And then we will go ahead and jump right in. This deck was piloted at the Singapore GP. So a very successful finish. So we'll see if I can do the same thing here. And it looks like Derek will be going on the draw. Like that. Round. Oh, we're taking an hour lunch break after this round. Sounds good. Thanks. Calling that first stone, hitting a magic stone from the Dark Castle, and we are going to see a harvesting season from the Rune deck. Let's see what we hit off the top. Going to mill the top 10, ultimately looking for a Valkyrie's Chosen. And there it is. You see a Valkyrie's Chosen get milled from the top. That's going to get immediately Einherjar summoned, and we're going to see Derek take 8 damage just right off the bat. Derek taking the 8, going down to 32. Turn 1 Darkness Stone for Derek. We're seeing a Look of Corruption, couple Rays. That's a new addition to the deck from the version that we played. Also, the Pump Up spell, seeing a discarded March of the Dead, and then an Energize into Blade of Faith to get the Valkyrie's Chosen off the grave or off the board. Whitestone. Oh, so this deck is very different. It is a Harvest Agro, but it is playing some white. The versions that we put on the channel wasn't playing any form of white at all. And then we're just going to see the Ray. It could work out. I mean, if that 0 flips, it actually is pretty good against the Brunhild deck, unless he's playing, if he is playing Odin's Judgment, but most of the time they haven't been playing Odin's Judgment. No white for Derek, so if he doesn't have a way to kill that Ray, it is going to flip over into 0, which could be pretty bad for him right off the bat. So at that point in time, we're just going to pass the turn. Going into Daniel's turn, he's going to recover. We're going to attempt to trigger the Ray. Derek says, I have no response to that, so it's going to get to flip. Now, Daniel has to be really careful here because there's a potentially an Odin's Judgment, right? Then he has the flipped 0. So you want to be careful about how much of an oppressive board you have. Sure, it's going to take him 2 White Will to get there, which can take a bit, but at the same time, you don't want to get too greedy here. So taking it, going down to 24 with the, 24. With the 0 in the air. A second Ray, which is probably going to flip over into a second 0. So this is actually looking really good for Daniel right out the gate. Pretty aggressive start. Finally seeing that white, not going to be enough right now. Those Blade of Faiths in hand, just not going to do it. We don't have access to Odin's Judgment here, and we've had a pretty slow start for Derek, honestly. The Mana Transmuter could be useful. It is going to get cast here, so we can pay the 3, so we have access to Blade of Faith. Next turn, we have access to Odin's Judgment. If we can kill the... the Mana Transmuter is going to get killed at end phase with an Awakened Sword of the New Moon. We did have that one mystery counter available from the first stone, so we can use that Sword of the New Moon to kill the Mana Transmuter. Based on the aggression and what we know in deck, we're going to see a Power of Immortality paying 3 life to be able to bring it back. So going down to 21, comes into play tap. If Daniel has another, March of the Dead, this is actually just lethal, and we're going to go into game 2. Because he can March of the Dead, double awaken the genes, swing in for 8, swing in for 8, take him down to 500. Heck, even a single March of the Dead copy here, not even unawakened, or a Majin Dark Elf from hand, because he does have the Nullstone there. Daniel potentially thinking about how greedy he wants to be here, choosing not to capitalize. Dispel, paying 3 life, going down to 2 to go up to 1,200. And then drawing. So just didn't have the aggression there, it seems. No March of the Dead is particularly bad. Second Whitestone here means that we're probably going to see an Odin's Judgment potentially come down here. I imagine we see hopefully an altar get played in response or before the Odin's Judgment so that we can at least stack the mana transmuter and make use of it somehow. Derek has to be careful though because he can't spend too much will here, too much life, because again we're in March of the Dead territory. And so with access to things like Majin Dark Elf and anything else like that, being too low on life is not good for him. This is a serious potential for a lot of damage very quickly from the Harvest deck. The Harvest deck does sometimes play a little bit of burn too, so we'll have to see what happens here. Yeah, so we did have a Swiftness body there and the way to pump it up, so that actually, I'm surprised we didn't see him push through for lethal. With Blood Ritual, he would have had with no mystery counter, maybe not. Derek's going to swing in with the 7. Sorry, the 6, taking down to 34, paying an additional 3, going down to 900, and we're going to see up to 17. Whispers of an Angel. And then we're going to see the Odin's Judgment to wipe the board. Clears things off. Derek essentially saying, okay, well, we're resetting. I stole your Swiftness guy. We'll see what happens. A Majin Dark Elf plus a... So he doesn't have a Majin Dark Elf. We know that. But a March of the Dead here, awakened, could still be 1,700 damage here with the Blood Ritual. Oh, we didn't see a blood counter, so that doesn't get us quite as much. Paying 2. A Joan to Arc, and then just a simple pass. So Derek definitely having to play kind of a keep-up game here to be able to, you know, stave things off. But the Harvest Aggro deck does kind of tend to run out of steam. And so we're getting into the point where Derek is going to start to get to mass this pretty big removal situation. Pretty big board state that's just going to be hard for Harvest to get through. Blade of Faith is going to target the Gene. We're going to draw a card off of the Messenger of the Sun. Another 2. We're going to play our own Gene from Derek and then just pass the turn. So losing that March of the Dead seeming to be doing a lot more than what was expected. Another Null Magic Stone. Not seeing the second White Stone. We would need to potentially Judgment Adam if he's trying to do that in this deck. Not entirely sure if he is, but would be a potential option. Seeing a Dark Red Riding Hood come down and then a pass. Definitely a card that we have not seen in a very long time. His life total isn't low enough to get the swiftness for it. Maybe he's thought it's just put out a body? Second Messenger of the Sun coming down, so now we're going to be drawing 2 cards off of every single one. Blade of Faith, so we get to draw 2 cards here, drawn into Mistletoe and a Spear of the Valkyrie. Swinging in for Gene for 7, going down to 27. And then a Layla finally seeing the play here on turn 7, or turn 6. Then a pass. Thought so. Mystery counter. So we do have access to the blood ritual now. We're going to blood spray the... Okay, so we're blood spraying here to try to draw, maybe draw into something a little bit better. We're taking some damage. We awoke in the blood spray. So we're going to draw 2 and hurt ourselves for some life. Trying to find blood spray. It's been so long since I've looked at that card. Oh, doesn't look like that. Oh, there it is. Sandstorm here. Just to get a 3rd one active to kill the Layla. Seven Stones is kind of exactly where Derek likes to be here because of his favorite card ever, Astema, which is just going to come down here and do it the other way. We're just going to Astema him back. So 20 going up to 2,900 and down to 1,200. And then he's going to pay for it to draw another card, go back down to 2,500. The problem here is when you get into Astema Wars is that like the drain and gains off of Astema don't really mean much because both players are using Astema so much that it just kind of keeps going back and forth and no one really gets any progress. But now he's got 1 black red stone available. He doesn't have any mystery counters. And Derek is in a position to be able to potentially just crack through for a ton of damage, especially if he has another Astema, his own Astema in hand. Because at that point in time, Derek only needs to deal 2,000. If he has like a second Gene or something else like that, he has a lot of options available to him. Swinging in with the Gene for 7. Saying, let's see if you're going to do anything in response, or if I'm just going to get to hit you here. Does Daniel have a plate here in response? Gonna go ahead and block. And Power of Immortality, the Astema. So the Astema comes back in. Takes Derek down to 7. And Daniel up to 3,000. But this is what I'm talking about. Like, if Derek has another Astema in hand. Oh, we have a Mistletoe. That'll work too. Spear of the Valkyrie. Doesn't get to trigger Mistletoe. But he does get to gain the 1,200 life. So he goes back up to 19. Draws a card. Plays on Hernyar summon. He can go grab the Gene. And gets to summon something else and gets to go grab a Mana Transmuter. Because if Mistletoe swinging in for 7 takes him down to 27 or 2,300. And just like that, we're back at a relatively one-sided board state. The aggro deck doesn't really have any mass removal. Definitely doesn't have many combat tricks. Just swinging for 2. Just go ahead and take him down to 21 just to be safe. Oh, whoopsies. 2,100 to 1,900. Sitting on 3 stones still here. We do see another Gene in hand. Potentially playing the Gene, leaving open with 1 white stone, though, which feels a little awkward. Could just push his opponent down. He could also use the mana transmuter to pay for the double black. Instead, just choosing to play in I forget what her name is. Our card that brings back, let's see, Alseed. Sorry, Alseed to bring back Layla. Say, hey, well, we're going to be ramping some more, so even if you do a wide board wipe, you're also going to be ramping me, which feels great. Asthma, 2,600 to 1,400. Second Asthma. And then at that point in time, Derek knows that he actually just loses the game there because of the paying life for Asthma triggers. He can pay enough life for both. So actually, Harvest Agro taking the game there to move into game 2. So the trick of the Harvest Aggro is to kind of do this burst of damage right at the beginning when your opponent doesn't have the chance to reestablish. Put them on the back foot. It's going to drain you for the rest of the life anyway with things. The whole idea of it is to just say, hey, like you are not going to be playing your deck. You are going to be playing to try to answer mine, and everything just kind of continues to repeat itself or continually revives itself, and then eventually get to a point where you just have Asthma to say, okay, cool, well, now that I've got you down to a grand, play Asthma, kill you. So the deck is ultimately just trying to play a 3,000 life game. Like if it could get its opponent down to 3,000 or down to 1,000, then it just sticks an Asthma and then it's lethal. I wonder if the sideboard changes here for the deck just to maybe have a little bit more protection. Those zeros did a lot of work. Derek might be thinking about maybe trying to bring in some more instant speed removal so that he can deal with the rays rather than having them flip over to 0. Maybe some mass board removal as well. Both players siding out a lot of cards here, making a lot of changes. I feel like I'm not connected to the chat anymore. I feel like I'm not connected to my chat anymore, so give me 1 second, guys, while I get into that. Oh, yeah, I am missing the chat. It hasn't been updated on my end. I apologize. Yeah, you definitely can use Adam. It doesn't matter. It's literally just a surprise factor. You're not really trying to judgment anything. Although Daniel seems to be playing white stones, Toby, so that actually does change something where he could potentially try to judgment, and at that point in time, maybe Brunhild would be better. I'm not entirely sure. Yeah, we are doing a lunch break. after this round. Yeah, just because of Blade of Faith too. Any sound issues, guys? Let me know. Just doing a little sound check, making sure that volume sounds good. My voice isn't too loud or any boominess. I'm continually watching the dropped frame thing, so I'll try to tell you guys if we need to refresh the stream. The new Adam Master Rune definitely isn't useful in this Harvest deck. It's trying to go just as low to the ground as possible in terms of curve. So you're probably not gonna see too much value off of it. Actually, would like it if the voices could be, like my voices could be a bit louder. There we go. I turned it up just a little bit. Hopefully that maybe helps. Derek choosing to go on the draw. Now, okay, Mystery Counterstone. We're going to see Harvest. And let's see if we can get into a Valkyrie's Chosen. So playing the Whitestone, I think, in the main is a little bit greedy because it means that you potentially don't hit a turn 1 harvesting season. And that is unfortunate. There is no Valkyrie's Chosen in the deck in the 10 cards milled. If we do see a human, you can still reanimate Gene. Yeah, but that's a little bit greedy. I don't know if I like this play going against a white deck. You're not hitting them for swiftness, and you know that he's playing Blade of Faith. Yeah, so that is really not a good play in my opinion because Blade of Faith is going to come down and just remove the Gene from game. You didn't need to be playing that and here you are summon right then. It just kind of sets up for a free play for Derek on his turn. Second Mystery Counterstone, not super bad. We are now really hungry for that Whitestone because if we happen to draw into any Valkyrie's Chosen, we want to be able to play them. I'm going to see a Command of Life and Death here. Grab the Astema, which is really good here as well, just for this early game 2 drop. Or we're going to see the Ray. Either one could be a potential play here. We are going to see the Ray come down, actually. Not a bad choice here. Messenger of the Sun coming down after another Blade of Faith to get rid of the Astema. Or, sorry, get rid of the Ray. Derek's just not having any of that this game. Blood Spray to kill the Messenger. Second Whitestone here. Oh, we awoken it, so we are actually down to 37 life. Einherjar summon just to bring back the Messenger. Derek's maybe feeling like his hand just needs to be better. Do you see that Evil Elemental Uprising in hand, which is pretty good? So Daniel not having an explosive start. Derek already pretty well set up with potential board wipe will. We're going to go ahead and Sword of the New Moon, the Messenger. Potentially a protection of the angels here. Oh, we're just going to go ahead and say, well, let's just draw a card off of it. We're going to Power of Immortality the messenger. Get to draw a card, bring it back, comes into play tapped. Oh, no, we're choosing. Yeah, okay, we're going to do both, I think. Oh, no, we're just going to go ahead and do Whispers. Gain 8, draw 2 cards, and then let the messenger die. At that point in time, he's pretty much done his work. Both of these players are currently 2-0, sitting at table 3. Going to see a Sandstorm into a Command of Life and Death to attempt to target the Asthma, and an Evil Elemental Uprising is going to come in response and just remove all of that. So that is a really good play from Derek. Saying, hey, if you're going to reanimate stuff, I'm just going to remove it from play anyway. Hitting the altar off the top here, going into play. No resonators to play with because he has 3 white stones and no dark, but a single Layla will turn it around pretty quick. The left J ruler is Adam Sykart, Mathman. Another stone. It's either a stone from the undead or a 3rd castle stone. Asthma coming in. Gonna see drain and gain. 42 to 33. Oh, and then paid 4. So down to 38. Derek using a Sealing the Gate of Darkness. So, like, Derek just not having any of this. He's got removal spells for days. He's not letting any of this darkness stuff resolve. He's going to play his own Asthma. He only gets to gain Drain. He doesn't have a way to gain at this point, unfortunately. But it does deal 300 damage, or 500 damage there. Takes it to a tie game at 33 each. Sorry, Derek should be at 43. My apologies. Wow, each player banishes. This does not seem like a card he wanted to be playing right now. So this is, I'm trying to find it. Life or Death Struggle. Each player discards a card and then banishes a Resonator. So Derek can just banish Altar. But it is a way for him to discard. Okay, cool. So it's a way for him to discard the, get rid of a Resonator, force a discard, and get rid of the Valkyrie's Chosen in his hand, which is pretty solid. Burning himself 2. We see a Majin Darko go down to 31. March of the Dead to try to bring back the Valkyrie's Chosen. He's going to get his trigger. And then a Gene from hand would be really good right now. Yep, and there's the Gene. So 8. Got a miscalculation to kill it. Should have swung in with the Gene first. Unfortunately, gets to swing in for 6 there, taking him down to 27. Has a second miscalculation. So just Derek saying, no aggression for you today. Ultimately, now just the Gene just sitting there dead. So Derek probably feeling pretty good in this game right now. Derek saying, I've got my own Gene to play. Spear of the Valkyrie using his Gene to target his opponent's Gene. Gets to gain 700, go up to 5,000 life. And then leaves 2 White Will open. So neither deck really playing the traditional play line for that's known for their deck right now. He gains life because he controls a Valkyrie, because Brunhild is a Valkyrie, and Spear of the Valkyrie says, if you control a Valkyrie. So it doesn't say where the Valkyrie has to be. Brunhild herself counts as a Valkyrie. This is the 6/5 Swiftness 2-drop. I forget what his name is called. Frontline Warrior, I believe. So burning himself 4, going down to 27 to play these guys. Command of Life and Death to bring back the Gene. Trying to find Frontline Warrior here. 1 second. Saying I'm going to swing in. So 26, so 2,731. After all that damage goes through. Judgmenting Brunhild. Gonna get to go grab Belial. Belial is going to only kill 2 things. He'll take 2 damage here, so go down to 26 or 25. His own Gene doesn't die because he controls 3 entities. And now we're gonna get to swing in for 7, take him down to 18. So the discard earlier ended up helping Derek a little bit there. He had a much better reanimate target. And I think Daniel says at that point, okay, cool, let's just go ahead and go to game 3. We've got some time left. So with that, we're going to go into our 3rd game. Daniel knows there's nothing in his deck that's going to come back from that. And having been someone who's played the deck, I know for a fact there's nothing really to bring him back from that at that point. So going into game 3, Daniel ultimately just really wanting to pump out a ton, but much more damage than he did. Derek wasn't really feeling the pressure from what Daniel was putting out, so Derek was able to stick to his own usual game plan, or just even a slightly different game plan to then kind of put Daniel in a position where he's like, okay, well, I don't even know what I'm supposed to be doing here. I'm trying to push pressure, but you're the one who's currently in the lead pressure-wise. The stone base for Derek also definitely paid out well for him in that match, just because of how much white removal he had in hand and hitting the white stones early. So we'll have to see. Daniel choosing to put Derek on the draw again, saying, okay, let's do it. You see Derek has Sealing the Gates of Darkness there. That's probably going to get kept. There's an Astema, maybe a miscalculation, and a Layla. Mystery counter. This is the same thing. We're doing turn 1 harvesting season. We're seeing what we can get. Same thing. Darkness Stone. The consistency of this turn 1 for Daniel has been nuts. It's just a matter of if we see. There it is. There's a Valkyrie's Chosen. So that's going to get reanimated. We're going to crack in for 800 damage. Unless there's a miscalc in hand, which there doesn't appear to be. It looks like there's a Sealing the Gates. But that doesn't stop Light Resonators. So he's going to get that 800 damage to face with Einherjar Summon on turn 1 with Valkyrie's Chosen. White Stone for Derek. Does seem to have a miscalculation in hand at this point. Second mystery counter, so we just saw draw close stone pass. Oh, just going to take the 6. Doesn't look like we do have a miscalc. Oh, it looks like it's just Sealing the Gates, so down to 26. I mean, that's what this deck wants to see. Wants to get your opponent down to 1,000 as fast as possible, then jab an Astema and call it a game. Sandstorm, Command of Life and Death. Astema to drain 5 and gain 5. 4,500 down to 21. It's going to pay the 400, so go down to really 41. So 41 to 21, choosing to use the Sealing the Gates there. Ultimately, the Astema kind of did its job. I mean, it burned a removal spell and got him to draw a card and burned Derek for 5. Derek really debating whether or not to commit to this Layla play right now. Does have access to Power of Immortality. No will to play it, though. Next turn, we're probably going to see an altar. We're just going to March of the Dead. We have no will to be able to stop it, so we're going to see a Gene and another Gene coming down here. Really strong play. The first step is to swing in with the Gene. So go get a Darkness Stone here. I imagine next turn we have to see an Odin's Judgment, but even then we would have to see removal spell, then Odin's Judgment. Swing in for 7, takes him down to 14, swings in for 6, takes him down to 8. So Derek sitting at a dangerous life total for this game, especially knowing that he can gain life, right? So he has that White Will there, so he can gain 8 there. He does have Burn Energize for, goes up to 1,600. He does have the White Will to be able to potentially cast Dispel. So you can get another Grand, go up to 26. But still, burning that so early when he doesn't have Messenger of the Sun on board. He does have the Messenger in hand. Is just not good for him. And having double Gene here, like if Daniel can hit, the weirdness of this matchup is like Derek has removal, like RFG stuff to deal with the Genes, but like if he doesn't see it, then if he gets a third Gene out for any reason, then he's in pretty bad shape because there's nothing really. Valkyrie's Sphere of the Valkyrie, like that one in his hand isn't going to do anything to it. Miscalculation is not going to do anything to it. He needs the Sealing. Odin's Judgment's not going to do anything to it. He needs the Sealing the Gates of Darkness. Derek really thinking about what to do during the upkeep here. Doesn't really have much in the graveyard to be able to reanimate himself. The Layla is not going to do much. And again, if Derek lets his life get too low, I mean, Daniel's sitting on a potential Astema play here. He only has to technically do 7. He has to do 600 damage here. And then Derek has to misplay the Dispel trigger. Yeah, this is what the aggro deck wanted to be doing during game 1. Or during game 2, really. Is like this really, really aggressive start that just tells Derek he doesn't get enough time to establish. Because like that's the thing about Black-White Brunhild is once it gets established, it's in a much better spot. Joan to Arc coming down on Derek's side. Does give him access to Spear of the Valkyrie will, or something to at least use for Spear of the Valkyrie. Can work to kill the Valkyrie's Chosen. But it either leave him with just one white source total, or if he wants to still use Evil Elemental Uprising, or would leave him with just a white source for Dispel. Call Stone. I think Derek just realized maybe he made a misplay with what's in hand. See, he does have an Asthma here. The play is to first swing with the Gene. Yep, so swinging in for 7. The Genes block each other. I think you're okay with that. Oh, we're going to see a Sword of the New Moon come down. Spear of the Valkyrie to try to gain some life in response. If we have another removal source, we at least can stop that. Power of Immortality won't save it. Although if he does have a Sand Awakening in the sideboard, it would actually save it. Sand Awakening in the Rune deck right now would be really clutch. And it's something that I've talked about maybe this deck needs to use. Because it would protect it and actually probably seal the game. Well, no, it wouldn't seal it, but it would be very, very close. Trying to see if we're doing anything in response to that Spear of the Valkyrie. We're going to we're going to Killing. So just use the spell here. Stays, puts him down to 6. Hold on. So Life Severing Blade killed it. Put Derek down to 6. Derek can cast Potential Belial here, but he needs to gain life, and he doesn't necessarily have a way to do it. Like an Asthma is actually... So Derek is now just living in constant fear of an Asthma. If there's an Asthma in there, there's no Asthmas in Grave. We have 1 Asthma in the RFG, so there's potentially 3 more in the deck. Belial is not super great here, but that's a potential out. If you can find a way to kill the Valkyrie's Chosen and then play a Belial, that's a potential way to clear things. And this again just goes to show that like the aggro deck, the Harvest Agro can just put out so much damage that like decks just don't know how to keep up. And it's one of the reasons why it's kind of just a sleeper. Yeah, you can sideboard against it, and there's a lot of good things, but the deck just kind of continually puts out so much pressure for so cheap. that just really, you just kind of constantly backpedal. Einherjar summon here, probably to at least grab the gene and put it back on board. We have access to a Astema, looks like it would have to be cast. Yep, so Derek going up to 11, down to 35. Sorry, 36. 36 to 11 here. Two will available here. Another mystery counter. Derek having, I'm trying to see what Derek has in hand. See what his potential outs for this situation are in terms of removal. Yep, we move into combat first. It's the smartest play. Gonna try to kill the Astema. Sword of the New Moon to try to kill the Astema. I think Derek knows that if he doesn't have any kind of protection, I think he just knows that that's the end. Power of Immortality. He'll at least kind of like undo some of the work. He'll take this. He'll take 7 and then gain 5. So he'll take 2, go down to 900. Daniel will be at 3,100. Swinging with the second Gene. Gene blocks Gene. That Gene is now sitting at being a 0-0. And then a third Gene. And then at that point in time, yeah, that's going to be... And then that's lethal. So yeah, so Harvest Agro taking it in Game 3 against Black-White Brunhild. Just having too much there in Game 3. Too much for Derek to be able to stop. And then we push it from there.